What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Ball2Books Spotlight. My name is Drew Heath, your host for the day. I'm one of the co-founders of Ball2Books. As always, we're bringing in and talking to people who play sports at a high level and now have transitioned into another phase of life. Today, we're bringing on someone very special. He's actually calling in from a different country, a whole different time zone. So I'm fortunate that he's able to make this work. He is a former college player who played at Bethel College in North Newton, Kansas. He had an opportunity to travel to play in the Dominican Republic during his high school career with the 365 Sports. He has done coaching on all levels from third grade up to the Division II level, mostly in Oklahoma. And now he's actually calling in from Japan, where he is currently teaching English and has done some work with some professional basketball teams out there. Very interested to hear his story. Today we got on Cedric Turner. Cedric, what's up, man?
What is going on, man? It's good to be on, man. It's good to be on.
Appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate you calling in. I know it's 9 a.m. right now for you.
Yeah, man. It's early for me right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate you waking up and doing this to start your day off, man. But we always like to just jump right into it with everybody and just hear how are you first introduced to sports, and then what was kind of your relationship with sports just growing up as a kid?
Man, my first introduction to sports was my granddad. My granddad, he loved he loved his country westerns,
Yeah.
which was crazy to me. But he loved his westerns and he loved his basketball. And like I wore 15 all through high school, and I tried to wear it in college, and I tried to wear it in any sport that I played. I tried to wear 15,
Yeah.
and everybody thought it was because I grew up in the era with Melo. Everybody thought it was because of Carmelo,
Yeah.
and I was like, nah, man. I was like, it's because of Magic Johnson. I was like, that was my granddaddy's favorite player, and
Gotcha.
when they had the Dream Team, Magic Johnson's number was 15. And
Okay.
that was when I was like 2 or 3 at the time. So I was
Yep.
watching it with him, and he was just always telling me about how great Magic was and all this. So I wore 15 in reference to Magic Johnson and my granddaddy. That's why I always wore 15. And so growing up, man, it was playing all the time. I grew up in an athletic family. Like my dad was very athletic, man. My mother was very athletic. Um, my my best sport purely was football. Like
Okay.
it was easily football. Like even people who see me today, they always make the mistake when I go on the basketball court. They always say, "Oh, he's just a football player trying to play basketball," and I was like, I actually do this." But no, football was the easiest sport. I was just built for football. My dad was a good football player.
Okay.
Uh, I was just built that way, and
Yep.
we and but I loved basketball. I loved it so much. I loved the challenge of it because in other sports, there was times where like you know when you're younger, you get cocky in your head, and you're
Mhm.
like, man, I'm the best. I'm the best
Yep.
out here. Yeah. Other sports I could do that. Basketball, I could never do that. Like
No way.
basketball, every time I stepped on the floor, I was like, hey, this dude might get me, man. So like I love I love that challenge. And so like that's why I loved it, man. It was my first love. It will always be my first love.
I love that, man. And I'm assuming you grew up in the Midwest, right? I'm looking at your experience, Kansas,
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
I grew up in Oklahoma. I grew up in Bowley, Oklahoma, before we
Okay.
moved to Oklahoma City. And Bowley is it's a historical landmark. It's one of the at the time it was one of the biggest and most profitable all black towns in the nation.
Okay.
And
Love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up there, and then we moved to Oklahoma City when I was younger. Then I moved to a few other places, but I played all my ball in Oklahoma.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that's also gotta be tough because I'm assuming that's like football country too, right? Like I'm
Oh,
assuming
big
football is
time,
top
man.
dog.
It is top dog, man. Like,
Yeah.
and we've had some really good pros come out of the state in basketball, but football
Yeah.
was still top dog. I mean, we had like lately the kids will know Trey Young and
Yep.
Blake Griffin, but
Yep. Yep.
like before that we had yeah, his name always slips my mind, man. Played for the Knicks, little shooting guard during the Patrick Ewing days.
Oh, Starks, John Starks.
Starks, yeah, John
Yep.
Starks is from Oklahoma.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
That's right. He is. Yep.
John Starks is from out here. Mark Price is from out here.
Yep.
Like it's like we had a lot of like big country from Oklahoma. Like we have
Okay.
a lot of good basketball players that came out of
Yeah.
Oklahoma, but it is football country, man.
Yeah.
They still call it a sissy sport. Like my my dad called it a sissy sport the whole time I was growing up. He was like, you out there playing that sissy sport. I'm like,
Yeah.
just
Man.
yeah,
No, it's funny. My pops is from Michigan, and he always said, basketball is a contact sport, football is a collision sport. So the
yeah.
same thing, man. It's just like it's just different. It's just different.
It's
Uh,
very different.
real random. Want to get your take on this just because you brought his name up briefly. The
Yeah.
whole 15 debate in Denver. Who, in your opinion, who is better 15, Melo or Joker right now?
Man, if you ask me like player, like skill wise,
Yeah,
who was a better 15,
yeah,
it's hands down Melo. Like
yeah,
Melo could do everything on the floor. Melo was crazy. But if you're going to ask me who they should retire at 15, it's clearly Jokic. Like Jokic
yeah,
has 2 MVPs there, brought a title there.
yeah.
And like I get it what Melo's been saying, like about about them being petty about it. And I feel like they were being petty about it when they gave Jokic 15. But
Yeah.
I also believe that nobody thought Jokic was going to be this guy. So
Yeah.
they were just like,
Yeah.
hey, he ain't never going to eclipse
Right.
Melo, so
What
we
you
can
did.
retire it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll
Yeah.
still be Melo. We can hash all that out. And then Jokic became the best player in the
Who he
league. And they're
is.
just like,
Yeah.
uh like now we got an issue. And it's like, but I mean, like, and I love Melo, man. Like Melo was always one of my favorite players. Um, I love his game. I thought that his selfishness ruined his chances to win rings
Mm.
because I mean that's how he played.
Yeah.
Because like when you hear about them old stories, when you hear that like D Wade and LeBron told him when they got drafted, they was like, "Hey, don't sign that extension, so we can all be free agents at the same time." And he
Yeah.
still was all like, "Hey, get me out of Denver to New York so I can sign an extension." It's like,
Yeah.
man, I was like, that would have been crazy. I was like, when you hear their first idea, like I was talking to my buddies about this the other day. I was like, bro, their first idea was to first it was don't sign your rookie extension so we can all be free agents at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when they became free agents at the same time, their first place was Chicago because they
Right.
wanted to do it where Michael did it. And I
Yeah.
was talking about buddies, and I was like, bro, could you imagine that team? I was like, you would have had D Rose, D Wade, LeBron,
Yeah.
Melo, and
Yeah.
Joakim Noah. I was like, then you
Yeah.
got Carlos Boozer coming off the bench.
Unstoppable,
You got
man.
Luol Deng coming
Dynasty.
off the bench. Kirk
Yep.
Heinrich coming off the bench. Kyle Krover coming off the bench. I was like, oh my. I was like, that team, Ben Gordon. I was like, that team would have been terrifying. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. It's like,
Yeah.
I was like, Melo messed up a lot of my dreams. I was like,
Yeah.
as
Nah,
a Bull
man.
fan, I was like, come on, Melo, that team would have been, oh, that team.
Yeah. Because those teams were solid with like the roster they had, they actually had, right? Like,
Without them, they would
yeah.
like without like when LeBron and Wade went to Miami, like that was Indiana and Chicago was always the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are teams that were studs without y'all.
Yeah.
And I would have just stepped in and not made any trades, just stepped in. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a Pacers fan, man. So that whole time period is like bittersweet for me too. Because it was
yeah.
like now we're decent, but that was
Yeah.
like we had those like PG teams and Danny Granger and Roy Hibbert, and then it was nothing for a minute. And so, but anyway,
I
yeah.
had to I had to hide my love for the Pacers. Like I had to hide it because being a Bulls fan, I had to hide it. Like I was like,
Yeah,
they were
man. Especially
like,
those
they were
late
like, you like the
90s
Pacers?
games.
I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, fuck Pacers, no. But like secretly, I'll be watching them like,
Yeah.
like 'cause my buddies asked me, they was like, hey man, who'd you patent your game after? They was like,
Yeah.
who'd you patent your game after? I was like, bro, I'm gonna be real with you. I patented my game after 3 guys: John Stockton, Michael, and Reggie.
There we
I was like,
go. There we
loved
go.
Reggie, man. I was like, I love loved everything about
Yep.
Reggie. Reggie was my guy. I was like, I
Yep.
still love Reggie to this day. Like when he does commentary and all this stuff, like I love his humbleness because like I feel like people disrespect him so much when they're like, Steph is the greatest shooter we've ever seen. I'm just like,
I feel like
I'm like,
that's similar like the mellow Joker thing, right? It's like
yeah.
let's not forget about the people that came before, right? Like,
Bro,
yeah,
I'm like, you look at Steph and I'm like, he's a 6'3" Reggie. I was like, he does everything Reggie Miller did. And I was like, you can even ask Steph, like Steph has said in the interviews, he said he patented his entire game after Reggie
right,
Miller. I was like,
yeah,
he does I was like, Reggie Miller was a constant blur,
yeah.
never stopped,
Never stop
was
moving.
always moving. I was like, Steph is the same exact way. And people are like, well, Steph changed the game. I was like, you got to remember who allowed him to change that game. I was like,
Right,
Steph was still playing old school NBA until they hired Mark Jackson. I was
right.
like, Mark Jackson said, take as many shots as you want to take. You are a
Yep,
phenomenal shooter. I was
yep.
like, Mark Jackson did the same thing in Indiana with Reggie. I was
Reggie,
like, he
yep.
was
That was
always
his
screaming at
PG.
Reggie to shoot. He was like,
Yep,
Reggie, shoot the ball.
yep.
He's like, that's not how we play. He's like, I don't care if that's how we play. Shoot the ball. And he's like,
Exactly.
I was like, man, too many. I was like, I love Reggie to death, man. When people talk about that, I'm like, if you not mentioning Reggie Miller's name and shooters, don't talk to me. Like that's
I love it, man, because that's my guy. So, bro, yeah, that's. But anyway, man, want to jump back on track with you.
yeah.
But no, that was just Pacer fan at heart. So definitely got love from you over here.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
but back to kind of what we were talking about earlier. You had a chance to go play in the DR, and then after that at Bethel College. What were both of those experiences like? What was the time playing in the DR like, and then what was your time at Bethel College like?
Man, playing in the DR was it was crazy. We first we spent 2 weeks in Durham, North Carolina training. And we
Okay,
spent 2 weeks there training. Um we had three teams. We had the A team, B team, and the C team. I was on the B team, and it was we lacked size. We had like two other guys that were taller than me. So like
okay,
my coach for the B team uh asked me to play the four a lot. But he was like, hey, he was like, I know you're a guard. He's like, he was like, I know you played four in high school too, because we were small in high school too. So I was,
yeah.
and I had a
You
big
got that
body.
football frame,
Yeah, like I
right?
want like
Yeah.
look like a mini running back out there. So I was like, yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, I got you. Um, and so we had fun, man. Like we played against one team. They smallest dude on the floor was like 6'5", and I was like, and I was like, man, it's bull. I was like, we still beat them by 20, but it was bull.
There you go. Yeah.
But my mentor, he had a picture of me doing a jump ball with a guy that was like 6'9". And so like I'm sitting there with the jump ball and and this is like was it 2008. So
Yeah.
like I got like the jerseys too big, shorts are too long. I got on a sleeve,
Yeah.
like I was sitting there with the knee brace out and everything. And I still won that jump ball, so I didn't even care. I was like, keep that picture. But no, it was it was fun, man. They had us on a resort. We were there for like 2 weeks. They had us on a resort that was on a beach, and like it had everything. And we did what high school kids do. Like
Yeah.
they had three different clubs on the beach, and
There
like
you go.
would send scouts out, find out where the coaches were at, and then we would go to the one where they weren't.
Yeah.
But the games were fun. The games were fun. They were mad competitive. Um, I got teed up a few times,
There you go.
especially one game. One game we went to double overtime with the team, and all the guys down there speak Spanish, and we had one guy on our team that spoke Spanish, and I did something, and the referee got a little pissed off at me, and he said something under his breath in Spanish, and my point guard, my boy, he came over to me. He was like, "Hey, bro, he just called you the N word." I was like, "Wait,
Oh,
what?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "He darker than me. Like, what you talking?
especially
like,
in the DR, man.
what you
Yeah.
talking about?" I was like, but it was fun, man. It was so much fun. Like our A team won every tournament they played in.
Mm,
We won two of the tournaments we played in. Took second in the other one. Well, we should have won it. Like we got kind of screwed out of that one. Like that was
yeah.
we were up by 7 with like 2 minutes left, and the fouls were 5-1. Like
Oh,
we only had one team foul at the time.
yeah.
Uh, 30 seconds left in the game. The game is tied, and now the fouls are 13-5. And it was like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
they called everything, man.
Man.
Like, like I barely touched the dude, and they called a foul on me. I
Yeah.
was like, what? I was like, come on.
Forget
And
home
like,
court. That's just home country advantage, man. That's
man, I'm
yeah.
telling you, it was. But like outside of the game, we got to do a lot of stuff, man. We went to the community and we got to do things with the community, and we got like my favorite picture from the DR. I let my the children's home that I worked for and that I grew up at. I
Mm,
let them keep this picture because it was my favorite one, and it just shows like what I love to do. Like we were out there with the kids and like teaching the kids the game, and I'm like, it's a picture with me, and there's like 10 kids around me, and I'm just holding the ball, and I'm like trying to teach them how to have a form shot, and it's
yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. But the DR is wild. I was like, there was one time we was walking down the street, we saw like I swear this kid couldn't be over 5 years old, and like he's holding his mom's hand and a bottle of rum in the other hand, and we're like,
He's ready to go,
what?
man.
Oh,
He's
like,
ready to
hold
go.
up, what is happening right now? And I knew it was for his mama because he kept passing it up to her, but I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, hold up, bro.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Oh man. And then after that, you finished your high school career and then
Yeah,
you decided to go to Bethel College. So what was the decision to
yeah.
go there? And then how was that time there?
Bethel was a cocky decision. It was being 17, thinking that you know everything, thinking that everybody that's looking out for you and has the best advice for you doesn't know what you're talking about.
Mm,
Uh, so like I should have went to another college called Bethany.
mm,
It was a Lutheran based college in Lynchburg, Kansas,
okay.
and the children's home that I grew up at was a Lutheran based group home. And Bethany had come to our campus and done a lot of stuff with us, from fixing dorms to doing things like that. And I didn't know at the time, but like like the basketball coach had came down to help on a mission trip just to watch me play because
Um,
he had been told about me. And
mm,
so like it would have been an easier transition for me. It would have been a more welcoming transition. It would have been people that I actually knew and had relationships with, and it would have been easier for me to transition into the college game.
yeah.
Um, but Bethel, going there was just I chose them because they were Bethany's rival, and so I chose them because of that. And I chose them just to be stubborn and cocky. And I went there, and it wasn't a good fit. It was just like I'm very honest when I was younger, I always made up excuses about dumb stuff, but like I'm very honest with it now. And I tell my teams this whenever I'm coaching them because they're always like, well, coach, you only played like a year in college and like you're not even in the you're not even on the team picture, like when they look up for the team
Mm,
picture. And I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. I was like, day of the team picture, I threw a fit because I was annoyed about something. And I didn't want to be in the picture. And I was like,
mm,
I was just immature about it. And I was like, and it was the first time I actually got injured. I'd always played hurt growing up in the country, growing up in the South. Like I'd always played hurt. Like there's a
yeah.
difference between being hurt and injured.
Getting
Like
injured.
hurt,
Yep.
you can still move. Like injured, you can't. And so like I always played hurt, but I had never been injured where I had to like sit out. And like I had really messed up my knee and I had to like sit out for the entire season.
Mm,
And so like that messed with me mentally. And then like I didn't really have any good relations with the guys on the team. That messed with me mentally. And and then it was just like I tell my kids, like I'm very honest and blunt about it. I'm like, hey man, I was like, Coach was a punk. I was like, Coach was a punk. I was an immature little punk. I got in my feelings
Yeah.
I didn't like it there. Instead of staying there and working my ass off, because the first fear of college was, do I belong here? Like,
Mm.
do I belong on the court with these guys? And after 2 weeks, I knew I belonged there. Like, I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm one of our top shooters. Like, I see the game differently than most of our guys that, especially the freshmen that came in with me. Like, I saw the game differently.
Yeah.
Um, and if I stay there and like take it and like take everything that happened, like I become probably a starter my sophomore, at least junior year.
Right.
Um, but I'm getting significant minutes outside of that anyway.
Right.
And so, but nah, that was too hard for me at that time. And I was like, so I told him, I was like, man, I was like, I wish I would have had somebody like me to call and like just rip me a new one and be like, quit being a
Right.
little punk, like just quit being a
Yeah.
little punk. This is what you chose. If this is not the college you want to go to, transfer to Bethany. Go play at
Right.
Bethany. And like,
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that. I came home and I came home and made some stuff up and sat out of college for like a year and just did nothing. And finally had one of my buddies' mom. She was just like, "Hey, you're too damn smart to be sitting on the couch doing nothing." She
Yeah.
was like, "Go back to school." And so I just went to school and played intramural ball and just
Yeah.
did
But
that.
no, man, I think you kept touching on it too, just being like authentic and honest with the kids,
Yeah,
right? So I feel like a lot of coaches now sell them short or like sell them false dreams. So I
yeah,
think it is great when they can have a coach like you who's like, I'm gonna give you a real story with the real trials, real ups and downs.
yeah,
Um, and for like from a coach's, because we all have like the great stories, we all have the downfall stories. I think it is
yeah.
bittersweet. We're like in the moment, it obviously sucks, right? Like it's not fun,
Oh, so
but
much.
like it,
Yeah,
it does take growth and time for you to be like, oh, like my experience and story can like significantly help out the next kid or the next person. But obviously when you're 18, 19, you're not you're not thinking about that. But
yeah. You're not thinking about it at all. Like, man, it was like, and like as a coach, like it's so much because I'll tell my kids, like my kids, like kids are always crazy because like either their parents or media always tells them it's D1 or nothing. I'm like,
right.
no, I'm like, you don't understand the percentage of high school players that
Yeah.
actually play in college. I
At
was
at
like,
any level. At any
yeah, I
level.
was like, it is
Yeah.
hard to do. I was like,
Yeah.
I played at a tiny college. And I was
Yeah.
like, and that's hard to do to get
Yeah.
there. I was like, it's hard to get through the door, it's hard to make the team, and it's hard to
Yeah.
get minutes. And I was like, guys, whatever level you play at, I was like, if you play at that level and your buddies are always giving you crap about something, you've accomplished something they can never do. I was, I
Right.
was like, because
Yeah.
I was like that. I was like, that's something. I was like, you are at another level of a player. I was like,
Yeah.
so don't take coaches that come in from D3 schools and D2 schools and NAIA and JUCO. Don't look down on them like
Right.
that's real. I'm like, nah, man. Like,
Yeah.
if you have, I used to tell my kids, I was like, bro, if anybody offers you, look at them seriously,
Yep.
because I was like, that is an opportunity that doesn't come around.
Yeah, and I think the two parts with that is always a lot of times when people knock the other divisions, they've never seen that level of play before. Like
Nah,
they've never seen a Division 2 or Division 3 college basketball game. That's one, and then two, let's say you do have the D1 or bust mentality. You don't realize that that Division 2 or Division 3 coach is friends with Division 1 coaches. So if you
so
give that Division 3 coach the cold shoulder, his D1 buddy might be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go check Cedric out." Ah, nah, man, forget
yeah,
that kid because he actually like gave me the cold shoulder. So
yeah. He did. He too
it's a
good for
small
me.
world,
Yeah,
man. It's a small world. Um,
yeah, man.
but then kind of diving into your coaching, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what are some of the similarities you find within coaching, whether you're coaching like a third grade kid or you're talking to a kid who is trying to like play in college? I think as people always focus on like the differences, right? But what are some things you see consistent between coaching a young kid or coaching someone that's trying to play at the next level?
Oh yeah, man. So like some of the similarities are, especially if you're coaching a kid that wants to wants to be there is the hunger and the
Yeah.
love. Like that never leaves like their no matter the age. Like if they love it in third grade, they're gonna love it their freshman year of college. Like it's like that love and passion to just come out and play and be great. Like that's going to be them their entire life.
Yeah.
Um some of the big differences are like it is definitely different levels. Like you're
Mhm.
like what saddens me about the game right now, and I've talked about this on my podcast, and I've talked about this on just on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. I've said it for years now that the European player is going to dominate the NBA
Mm.
sooner than later. And it's
Yeah.
because I see it all the time in every level. None of these kids know fundamentals anymore. They don't know the fundamentals of the game. They don't know how to do that. And I tell people all the time, they're like, what? I'm like, no, I was like, you don't understand. I was like, I didn't understand it until I became a college coach. I was like, the only sport that gets it right is baseball. I was like,
Mm.
baseball calls their coaches managers. And that's because
Mm.
that's what they are. I was
Yeah.
like, when you get up to a higher level, you're not coaching. I was like, you're managing talent and just putting them in the right position. I was like,
Yeah.
because by the time they get to you, they should already know how to play the game. I was like,
Yeah.
only thing you're doing is fine tuning things that they might struggle in. So you're
Right.
not really coaching. I was like, and then even as a head coach, you're not doing that. Your assistant coaches are doing that. Your assistant coaches are doing the drill work. They're doing defensive drills. They're doing offensive drills. You're just overseeing. So you are managing talent.
Yeah.
And I was like, and the toughest thing for a college coach is to get a guy who they see that they think has the talent, but when they get to school, they don't have the fundamentals. And so, like, now you have to
Right.
start over. You have to break them down and teach them the fundamentals. And for a coach, at college level, you don't want to do that because you're like, nah, like in like I always told them, I was like in college compared to working with younger kids, like I could work with third to third through eighth grade kids and lose every year. But as long as I'm showing progress and the kids are having fun and the parents are cool, I'm gonna keep my job. Right.
Right.
I was like, I can't do that in college. I was
Right.
like, if I have 2 losing seasons in college, then
You're
I
done.
gotta go. And I
Yeah.
was like, so I was like, this is my livelihood. And so, like, if you're coming in and I have to teach you stuff you should have learned in junior high,
Yeah.
like that's taking time away from me. So you're not a guy I'm going to look at to bring to our system. I'm gonna look at someone who is fundamentally sound because he's easier for me to coach. I used
Yeah.
to tell my kids this all the time. I was like, guys, I can teach you how to be a great offensive player. That's nothing. I was like, I can
Right.
teach you how to score. That's nothing. I can't teach you how to play defense. I can't
Right.
teach you how to dribble the ball. I can't teach you how to do this. I was like, those are fundamentals that you should have learned at another age, man. I
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
I was like, that is just, I was like, those are things that I can't teach you because those are things that you either want to do or you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so I was
Yeah.
like, and I see that with kids all the time, man. And like my players hate it because we do so many fundamental drills. And I'm like, guys, when we get on the court, and I was like, I told one of my kids, I was like, bro, let's look at it this way. I was like, when we started the year, he's one of my seventh graders. I was like, when we started the year, you could barely make a layup. I was like, here we are at the end of the season, and you're pulling up from 20 feet. And I was
Right.
like, you're making it look easy. I was
Yeah.
like, that's because of the fundamentals, man. I was like, you
Yeah.
understand the game now. And I was like, and you can only pull up from 20 feet now because they
Yeah.
don't want to give you a layup because you can make them now. I was like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I was like, that is part of the game. And I see it in kids all the time. They do not know the fundamentals. Like I see it in these young kids and some of these kids in college. And I'm just like, none of these guys know the fundamentals of the game. I'm like, they're trying to get rid of the mid-range shot so much. And I'm like, the mid-range shot is the easiest shot to get off.
If it's going
Easiest.
in, don't stop shooting it too.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like,
yeah.
it's almost easier than a layup because it's in a gray area of defense. You don't know if you should step up or you should give them space. I was
Yeah.
like, so the mid-range shot, I was like, the 3-point, they can crowd you and make you drive. when you're in the paint, they can crowd you and make you dribble out. But the mid range is something where there is a gray area for a defender, especially in this era of defense. It's a gray area because you're
Yeah.
like, if I step out and I crowd him and he drives by me, then that's a layup because I don't have the help there. I was like, but if I give him space and he pulls up, then I was like, but most guys aren't thinking to pull up from mid range anymore because there's so many coaches telling them not to shoot it. Don't shoot
Yeah.
that. It's either 3 or layup. Shut
Yeah.
up. Oh, shoot that shot.
And it's funny, like you'll see kids, even very talented kids, don't look to take that shot either. Like
Ever.
they don't see the floor that way anymore. They either
Nah.
see I'm getting by my guy to get all the way to the cup, or I'm shooting this deep three, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you probably scored 10 more points a game if you had a pull up mid range.
And it annoys me because I hear them talking heads on ESPN all the time, and they're like, "It's 3 or layup. It's 3 or layup." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"No, quit telling kids this, man." And
yeah,
like, and then I even hear pro players saying that. Like, I hear JJ Redick talking about it, and I'm like, JJ, like, quit ruining these kids, man. Like, that's not the game. Like the mid-range game is wide open. I was like, you got to think about the greatest players to ever play. I was like, Kobe, mid-range game, crazy.
yeah,
Mike's mid-range game, crazy.
yeah,
LeBron, mid-range game, crazy.
yeah,
CP, Kawhi, Paul
yeah,
George, all of them have crazy mid-range games. They
yeah,
are ridiculous in the mid-range, and that opens up the entire floor for them. So to say quit taking that shot is blasphemy. It's ridiculous.
yeah. And then I think another thing you touched on, which I liked, was that like there are certain parts of the game that I can't really like. I can't teach it to you 100% of the way. So this year we're
Yeah,
going over like backdoor cuts with my team, and
yeah,
it's like you have to read the defense on when to cut backdoor, and kind of like same
yeah,
thing you were saying of like I can show you the defensive stance. I can show you like, all right, I can tell you force them to their weak hand.
yeah.
You at some point just gotta lock up, right? There's just
You
some
just got
like
to do it.
intangible, fundamental. You have to do it,
Yeah,
and I do think that is a great point you made too. Of at a certain level, it is just managing personalities and talents and skill sets.
yep,
Because yeah, there's no college or NBA coach or even like good high school coach who's like, now let's go over your follow through, or okay,
yeah,
let's go over triple threat. It's like either you know this and I'm giving you playing time, or you don't know it and I'm putting the next dude in.
yeah,
So no, I thought you hit it on the head with all that,
yeah. I
man.
would tell my kids all the time. I was like, guys, offense is skill, defense is want. I was
Yep.
like, offense is skill, defense is want. I was
Yeah.
like, because it is will and want on the defensive end. I was
Yeah.
like, you great defensive players want to be great defensive players. I was like, that's
Yeah.
it. I was like, that's it. I was
Yep.
like, offensive players, I was like, great offensive players that don't have skill are just your average guy. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, offense is a skill set. I was like, but defense, and I'm telling them this all the time, like defense gets you into college. I was
Yeah.
like, because like, I was like, a college coach will tell you every single day, I will recruit a defender any day of the week
Yeah.
because I can teach you how to
You
score.
could teach
I can't
offense.
teach you how to play
Yep.
defense. Yeah. I was like, I can
Yeah.
teach you how to score. I
Yeah.
can't teach you how to go play defense.
Yeah. At that, and can you defend your position? Like
Yeah.
that's great. You're an amazing point guard. Can you
Yeah.
defend the other point guard? Right. That's
And
great.
like,
You're amazing big. Can you defend the other big?
and
So
that's what like when they asked me, they're like, what college? That's what got me into college. I was like, I was our best defender.
yeah.
Period. I was like, we ran a box and one in high school because of me. I was like, there was
Yeah.
no other reason. I was like, when I stepped off the floor, we went into a zone. When I
Yeah.
was on the floor, it was a box and one. Who's their best player? I'm
Go get him.
locking you up. Like
Yeah.
it's like you are going to hate me at the end of this day. You're
Yeah.
going to want to fight me because I grew up old school. I grew up with old heads, man. And
Yeah.
I hate when kids say old heads like that's an insult. Nah,
No,
like that's
badge of
not an
honor,
insult to
man.
me.
That's a
Yeah,
badge of honor.
I was like, but like I grew up with them guys. Like my uncles, like my aunt is a Hall of Fame basketball coach. She is a Hall of Fame basketball coach, and she taught me the majority of my game. And when I was growing up, she would tell me, "Hey, This is how you test somebody. If they tell you that if your coach tells you that this person is the guy you need to shut down and they are a great offensive player, this is how you test them. She
Yeah.
was like, the first time they get the ball, lay them out. She was
Yeah.
like, take that first foul. She was like, when
Yeah.
they drive, she was like, don't hurt them. She was like, but let them know that you're there. She was like, when they
Yeah.
drive, hit them. She was like, when they go up for a shot, hit them. She was like, let them know you there. She was like, if they come back and they go right back at you, you're gonna have a long day. She was like, but if they come back and they want to pull up for a jump shot,
You got
you
him.
already beat them. You already
Yeah.
beat them. And I was like, all right. And so I would do that all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm walking around at 6', 220. If I hit you, you gonna feel me. Like this.
Yeah.
And so I would test dudes all the time. And they would get pissed off. They were like, come on. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, when we on the court, ain't no friends here, fam. Like,
Yeah.
unless you wear my jersey, ain't no friends here. Like,
I
what you
love it.
talking about?
Have you seen that clip of Kobe with the USA team against Spain? And
Oh yeah.
he did
He just
exactly what you're talking
ran through
about.
Powell.
Yep,
Yeah,
that first
ran
play of the
through
game,
Powell.
purposely
Yeah.
just like took the foul, ran through him to do exactly what you just
Yeah.
said. Uh,
And it was a two-way test for Kobe. It was to see if Powell was ready for their next run for a title,
yep,
and it was to see how he would respond.
yeah,
And Powell came back like you even hear Powell when he talks about it. He was like, all right, let's go. And like, he's like, I was like that. I was like, that's the difference in players now, man. I was like, I see players nowadays, like they get hit and they're not looking to go back at the guy. They're looking at the ref and crying to the ref. I'm like, what are you doing? This is part of the game, bro. Like, you're
yeah,
getting checked. Like,
yeah,
do you got it or do you not? Like, show me you got it. Like,
yeah.
I was like, and
That,
when we walk off the court, it's all good because what happens
yeah,
on the court stays on the court. You take it off the court, then that shows me who you are as a person. Like,
yeah. And I think to that point, and also using the Kobe and Powell example, some of my like most competitive moments were with people I knew the best.
oh yeah,
Right?
oh
It's
yeah,
like I was definitely competitive with like some guy I never played against or whatever else, but it's like, oh, if this is like my boy from across town or this is my boy from like my past AAU team or something,
yeah,
I was almost more physical with that player, almost more cutthroat with that guy. But then, like you said, like once the game's over, you're back to being my boy. But like from tip off to the last whistle,
yeah.
it's like I'm trying to knock your head off, which I
It's
don't see
comp.
as much anymore
Yeah,
with like today's like
it is
players and kids.
competition, man. Like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain used to talk about it all the time. Like people wanted them to be rivals, but they loved playing against each other because it brought out the best in each one of them. Like
Yeah,
it was Bill actually having to guard somebody his size, and it was Will
right.
having somebody his size that could actually guard him.
Yeah,
And I was like Kobe loved it when he played against Mike. I was like, Mike, this is 18-year-old Kobe, 17-year-old Kobe, and Mike going at him like he a 10-year vet. And he like, man, I
yeah,
love this, man. Like, this is
yeah,
what we do. And like my buddies, like when we play together, we getting up there in the age, and like when we play against each other, it's like we're in our 20s, and we have to remind ourselves after we can barely walk, like, hey man, we gotta chill out sometimes. But we go at each other because we all know each other, and it's
yeah,
it's about the competition, and we gonna talk shit afterwards. And it's
yeah,
gonna be, I was like,
exactly.
my buddies used to tell people all the time when we would play pickup games, they were like, hey, you want to know how to guard Cedric? Be cool with Ced. He's like, when we play pickup games, be cool with Ced. Crack jokes with Ced because Ced
Yeah,
ain't gonna do nothing. He just gonna chill. He
yeah,
gonna chill. He gonna hit a shot here and there. He gonna play mediocre defense because it's a pickup game. And
yeah,
I understand the pickup games. I'm not going all out because that's how you get hurt. I'm not
yeah,
doing that. I was like, it's a pickup game, bro. Ain't nothing on the line here. I don't care about that. I was like, I know what I've done. I'm confident in myself. I don't care.
yeah.
I was like, but they were like, hey, the moment you say something,
I was
that's
over.
when he becomes a villain. Like
Yeah,
it's his personal mission to just make your life a living hell. It's like,
yeah,
it's like if he ain't got his shot going that day, then you ain't got your shot going that day. If he do got his shot going that day, then it is, oh, you are going to hate life. There's so many times in college I almost got into fights with dudes because they would say something slick thinking that they could play with me, and I would
yeah,
just torch them and they would get pissed. And I'm just like,
yeah.
bro, why you talking? Like,
Don't poke the bear, man. Don't poke the bear. But yeah, man, you're calling in from Japan right now. So what brought you to that move out there? How long have you been there? And what ages do you currently teach right now?
So what brought me here is my mentor passed away. My
Mm,
mentor passed away a couple years ago, and like that really hit me hard. I was in a dark place for a while. And I just wanted to get away. I just really wanted to get away. I left my current coaching job at the time. Um I was living with my buddy in his spare room. I was working like waiting jobs and doing DoorDash because it was stuff I could just come in and out of. I didn't have to like really
mm,
commit to it. And I was just looking for something, man. And I was just online. I was on Indeed one night and I was just like, man, I'm just gonna look for jobs overseas. I just want to get away. I don't want to be around people right now. I don't want to be around anybody I know. I just
yeah.
need time to just kind of like breathe. And so I was just applying to places. I mean, it's extremely hard to like get accepted to overseas jobs. And so like I was just applying to places and this job hit me back up. They hit me back up and we started talking and they liked me, I liked them, and we got the process going. And it was kind of easier because I had already had a passport and everything from being
Mm,
in Dominican. It was just getting my visa.
yeah.
So I got my visa, we were good to go, and I headed out. I've been here now a year.
Okay.
Um, I signed my contract to stay for another year, so I'll be here for another year.
Nice.
My
And
age,
what city in Japan are you currently in?
Sendai. I'm in Sendai. It's in the Izumi area. Izumi Chuo is what it's called, but it's in the Miyagi region.
Okay.
And Sendai is a very big city, like like especially coming from small town Oklahoma. Like I mean, Tulsa is a big city.
Yeah.
It does not compare to Sendai. Like Sendai has like 1.9 million people in the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
That's
like
big.
Sendai is huge. Tokyo is like 4 times the size, maybe
Yeah.
maybe even 5 times the size. And but it's been cool in Japan. Right now I'm teaching. I teach 4 classes right now.
Okay.
When we start our next school year, I'll be teaching 6. Uh,
Okay.
but right now I teach first grade, third grade, fourth grade, and sixth grade. And
Nice.
what we do is kind of like an after school program. They go to school during the day, but they come to see us in the evening, and we teach them English, and we just teach them the basics of English until about fourth or until about fourth grade. Then we start to teach them how to really have conversations with
Okay.
English speakers because if they stay with the program through sixth grade, in seventh grade, they get to go to America and they spend like two
Oh,
weeks in
nice.
America. So like they have to know their English to be able to talk to American kids.
Yeah.
And so we help them learn that. And then they can stay in it all through high school. Like next year, that's why I'll be teaching 2 classes, 2 extra classes, because I'll be teaching high school classes.
Oh, nice.
Um, which is more my area because when I was in the States, I was teaching high school and college
Yeah.
students. So it was it's been a lot of fun, man. I love the kids. I really love like I've always loved kids under the age of like sixth grade and down. I
Yeah.
always enjoyed them because they're still like just innocent. Like they don't really know the
Yeah.
world yet. And they just want to have fun and they just want to joke
Yeah.
around and like their questions are hilarious. Like I was reading them a story the other day in the corner, and when I was reading the story, I hadn't read the story myself. It was the first time I read it because it was a new unit,
Yeah.
and so the guy sitting on the front is like he's like an animal. He's like a black bear with like a mustache. The story's called Johnny and Ginny Bear,
Okay.
um, and they helped their neighbor, but he's like a black bear.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is Mr. Cedric, and they were like, oh ha ha ha. They all started laughing, And then I turned the page and they were like, Mr. Black. And I was like, oh, come on, man.
Oh, yeah,
and, I, and I was like, oh, come on. I was like, come on, man. And so, like, I'm sitting here reading the story. I'm like, Johnny and Judy Bear went to help Mr. Black. And they're like, Mr. Cedric. I'm like,
oh, you opened that one for
like, yeah.
yourself, brother. You,
I'm like,
you
yeah,
set yourself
man.
up on with that.
Yeah. And then they got me the other day. Like, it's so funny because I don't know if you've ever taught, but as a coach, like your team resembles you.
Right.
Like, and I
Yeah.
used to tell people that all the time. I coach. Yeah, so like my teams, whenever you played my teams, you knew what you were gonna get. You were gonna get a
Yeah.
fundamentally sound team that were little assholes. Like they like they were gonna be super mean. They were gonna be aggressive. They were gonna
Yeah.
come at you during the game. They were gonna be annoying. But after the game, they were gonna be like the best kids. They were
Yeah.
gonna be super respectful, super disciplined. Um, but like during the game, you were gonna hate them. Like I I had a great coaching moment where like I felt it in my heart, but I had to show a different side because I had a game where one of my eighth graders, it was the funniest thing. One of my eighth graders was playing defense. Kid went up. He went to go block his shot. I thought he got all ball. Ref said he got body. I don't know. It is what it is. But the
Refs will be
kid fell.
refs.
Yeah, I was like, but the kid fell. And he kind of like just kind of looked at the kid. And one of the guys on our team was the kid's friend. And so he went over to help him up and he slapped his hand away. And he was like, he got teammates. And I was like, yes. I was like, yes. But like I had to like hold it in because
Yeah.
like, my superintendent looked at me and I was like, hey man, come on, man.
Yeah.
He's like, but then we got the locker room. I like looked around. I was like, I better love that, bro. I was like, I like get him, bro. I was like, if he ain't wearing our jersey, he don't he got
Yeah.
teammates, son. I was
Yeah.
like, so like but no,
No,
but like
exactly, man.
yeah, my classrooms resemble me. Like, so my classrooms are like they're super well behaved, they're disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
but they're competitive. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are competitive, and that's a thing in Japan. It's not really a thing. It's
Yeah.
but and so when we would lose at different games, like when we play like have class day and play games and stuff, I would always hit people with a petty clap, like for the teacher, because I'm like, yeah, you guys won, whatever it is. So I started doing that. Man, I didn't notice it until the other day. We had a game day, and my third and fourth graders, we lost the game, and my third graders were like, and I was like, oh God. Hold, chill out, chill out. I was like, and then my fourth graders, they were like,
Oh man.
like, nah.
Yep.
But then I told my boss, I was like, hey man, my fourth graders starting to get ruthless, man. I was like, they be roasting people now. He was like, I wonder where they get that from.
Right. Hey.
I was like, what? What? So
Do as I say, not as I do.
I was like, what you talking about?
Yeah.
But because there's a little like we were doing a question and answer part in the book. And so like in the book, the kids brought their neighbors hot food because their neighbors had a hole in the roof or something like that. Some crazy thing with the book. But they were bringing them hot food. So I asked the kids so that they could use their English and talk to each other at the table, but also use their English to critical think. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, what would you bring the Wilsons if this was your situation?
Yeah.
Like some of my kids said, I would just bring them tea. I'm like, that's it. Y'all just drinking tea, no food, and they're like, and then, so some of them said some other things. They were like rice balls and sushi, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see y'all, but y'all ain't drinking nothing, like just dry mouth. I was like, this, but I was like, okay, if Mr. Cedric were to bring them something, I would bring them chicken and rice and water, just things that they knew. Yeah. Out of nowhere, like my back row is all girls. They just started dying laughing. And I'm like, I turned around, like, why are y'all laughing? And like
Yeah.
one of my fourth graders was all like, she was like, I told them that you would say chicken. And I was like, ah. I was like, we're gonna move on from here.
Man,
I was like,
you
y'all,
got you got some
y'all,
jokesters in your class,
I
man.
was like, y'all coming at me too much lately. I was
Got
like,
some jokesters in your class.
y'all gonna bring out the thug and Mr. Cedric. Y'all don't want to see this guy. I was
I love it. I love it, man. That means you're just keeping
like,
the environment fun, though.
oh man, they
And
look
it's
like
fun.
that's always my negative. Like whenever they critique my classes, like my supervisors come in and critique my classes, they're like, "Hey man, great stuff. You're having a little too much fun." I'm like,
Yeah,
"What?" I'm
yeah,
like, it's an after school program. Why am I not gonna make this fun, man? I was like, they've been in school all day. They don't want to
yeah,
come here and have to go right back to work. Like, come on,
yeah.
man, let them have fun. I was like, they still learning. I was like, what? I was like, my classes are ahead of other people's classes. Like, what are you talking about? Let's.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, man. That's also been a huge adjustment for me too, because in the States, it's Coach or Coach Turner or Mr.
Mm,
Turner or Professor Turner. Over here is Mr. Cedric,
mm,
or and I'm just like, that's weird because like I told one of my supervisors who was my trainer, I was like, man, I was like, that took me a while to get used to. And he was like, why? I was like, because I was like, I've been teaching and coaching for like 9 years now. I was like,
yeah.
I haven't heard my first name in I don't know how long. I was like,
Right.
I was like, my boys don't even call me by my first name. My boys just call me Said. I was like,
Yeah.
so I was like that. I was like, when somebody said my first name, that threw me off. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I was like, I almost hit one of them. I was like, cause I was like,
Especially in like a formal setting too, right? Especially
yeah.
like work
I was,
environment, teaching environment.
I was like, man, I was like, let one of my American students call me Mr. Cedric, man. I was like, they about to get uppercutted. I was like, so I was like, what's wrong?
Man. But then it sounds like you make a lot of good connections. And then one of those
Yeah,
connects we're talking offline about led to you working with some of the pro teams out there and club teams. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, could you talk a little bit about that? We were laughing about how the whole connection came. So just
yeah.
that story and then just how that whole experience was.
So the connection came because one of my first graders, his father owns the pro team here in Sendai. They're called the Sendai 89ers.
Mm.
And so my bad. I was like, that's just I got my plants growing inside. So like
Yeah.
yeah, I got a bug every once in a while.
Fruit flies and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
But so like yeah, he was like, yeah, I own the 89ers. He's like, you should come down. So I went down there and I talked to a few of the coaches on the staff, and I did a few workouts with some of the American players. Some of the players spoke English. We just did a few workouts, like basic stuff, like stuff they're not gonna really see in Japan because Japan's basketball is not that physical.
Mm,
Um, it's a lot of quickness. Like they are quick. Like
mm.
I told my buddy the first time I played with him, I was like, he was like, hey, are they good? And I was like, they all right. I was like, but they quick. I was
Quick.
like, they
Yeah.
quick, man. I was like, they can't shoot. I was like, for every one good shooter, I was like, it's like 1 out of 12, 13,
Yeah.
something like that. I was like, man, I was like, I was like, but bro, they quick. I was like,
Yeah.
I had to adjust to that. I was like, I was like, one of them beat me off the dribble, and I was like, that ain't happening in a minute. And I was like, hold up, bro. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
come back. Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Um, and so like I started working with them a little bit, but then the school that I teach at, I'm here all the time. Like we teach, like we're in.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, people were getting some technical difficulties, but back on board. We're talking about how overseas and international systems are a little bit different and better in some ways than the systems we got back here in the U.S.
Well, it's just because like I was saying, like back home, back home in the States, most people who play sports, some want to play, and the others are just playing because their parents want them to play. It's like
Mm,
another daycare. It's like another like they're like, well, I don't get off work till 5, so you got to play ball because you
right.
guys can get out of practice till 5. And so like over here, you gotta want to play and you gotta
Yeah.
be good. Like you gotta want to play and you gotta be good. Like some of the schools here have teams, but that's a rare thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
rare thing. Like most of it is club ball. Like
Yeah.
and and club ball is not just they just play ball. They still go to school. They go to school during the day, but they play for a club, and so they have that responsibility of having to come to that club practice. How
Yeah.
many every times they practice, and it's very different. Like over in the States, like you practice one day. If people are kind of confused of what club ball is, club ball until you reach a certain age kind of looks like AAU.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the kind of system it is. I was like, but the difference is that where AAU you would practice like 1-2 times a week. Like I know coaches that don't practice at all. Like
Right.
some players don't even have to show up for practice; they just got to show
Right.
up for the games. I was
Yeah.
like, and then you play a Saturday or a Sunday or maybe both days, and you're playing like 6 or 7 games both days.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, they practice like 4 or 5 days out the week, and on the weekend they play like one game
Yeah.
or two at the most.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're learning how to play the game. You're learning how to play basketball correctly. Like, I was telling my buddies, I was like, "Hey, bro," I was like, "They might not can shoot, but they run plays efficiently." I was like,
Yeah.
"They run them efficiently. They understand their play system. They understand what's going to happen. They understand where they need to be."
Yeah.
I was like, and so that is a big difference. Like, and then when you have club teams, you don't have to worry about coaches who have to do other things. Like, that's one
Right.
thing that, like, I told my buddy, I was like, bro, I don't want to stop coaching, but when I come back to the States, I don't want to have to teach to coach. I was like, I
Right.
don't want to do that. I was like, I just want to be able to coach. And he
Yeah.
was like, well, just coach an AAU team. And nah. I said,
Different.
because I was like,
Yeah.
coaching the AAU team, I was like, unless I could do it my way, I was like, I'm not going to be able to get a lot of players. I was like, because players just want to play games and
Yeah.
they don't understand that practice is what makes them that next level.
Yeah.
Like,
I
and
think you're starting to see it, and it's starting to come out. A lot of posts been popping up recently about exactly what you just said of
yeah.
how, and I still do think that like America still produces the best like skill players,
Oh,
but I
like,
think the rest of the world's catching up with the skill. So I think for the
yeah,
longest time, the international countries probably ran better offenses, were more disciplined, all that stuff, but they just didn't have the players to like win the games.
yeah,
Now you're starting to see Japan's even producing like Rui Hachimura playing in the NBA. Like every country almost has an NBA player now. So
yeah,
it's just like when you're playing in the international stuff, the game's more competitive and it does start from the grassroots program. And I think one of the biggest things which people don't really talk about a lot yet is that in these other countries, you can make a living, pay your rent. I'm not saying you'll be wealthy or rich, but you can pay your rent being a youth coach for a club team, where in America, just like you said, if you're coaching sixth grade basketball,
yeah,
you have to have another job. Have
yeah,
to.
have
There's
to,
no way you're paying for anything
yeah,
off what you're making from coaching that team.
yeah. And like, it's wild. And like, it's funny you say Rui because Rui went to the school that I work at. Like, yeah,
Okay.
like he was here for a little bit before before he quit because he went to his club team.
Yep.
So he went to the school where he would work on his club stuff. And it's like they have schools that are just for sports. Like
Yeah.
there's sports academies. So
Yeah.
like you go to school like in the morning part of the day, and
Yeah.
then you break off and you go to whatever sport
The
that
rest
you're
is your
there
sport.
for, and that's
Yeah.
what you do the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's so different. And like I told my buddies, I was like, cause I talked about it on my TikTok the other day. I was like, man, I was like, European players, I was like, do not get me wrong, because when American players hear this, when American people hear this, they just get pissed off because they're like, it's America. We're the best. I'm like, chill out. Like,
Right.
okay. I was like, we're physically bigger, we're faster, we're more skilled, all of that. I was like,
Yeah.
check, 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 check. I was like, that's still American. I was like, but I was like, fundamentally sound? No, we're not there. I was like, knowing how to run an offense? No, we're not there. I was like,
Yeah.
dedication to the game? No, we're not there. I was like,
Yeah.
it's funny to me. You haven't heard a single European player say anything about this new NBA rule that you have to play 65 games. But
Right.
American players are coming out crying about it all the time. And I know you're an Indiana guy, but your boy Tyrese,
I know.
he crying about nonsense. Like, bro, like, don't be doing
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah,
that.
no, he is unfortunately one of the leading voices
Yeah. Like,
complaining about it.
like I told my buddy, I was like, bro, I was like, he's like, man, but you got to see. I was like, no, I didn't got to see at their point, bro. I was like, they're getting paid millions of dollars to play a
Yeah.
children's game. I'm like, it's a children's game, bro. I was
Yeah.
like, and they telling me that having basically 17 PTOs is too much or is
Right.
not enough. I'm like, you got 17 PTOs and that's not enough. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
we get 4.
Yeah.
I was like, we got to come to work every day, bro. I was like,
Yeah.
you dribble a ball. Like, we got to
Yeah.
come to work every day. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, nah, man. I was like, no, y'all can miss me with that, bro. I was like, I ain't got no sympathy for you when it comes to that.
Yeah.
None. I was like, and the craziest thing is every other country, you can be like, you can be a great athlete, but you're not famous. Like people will know
Yeah.
you, but you're not famous.
Yeah.
Like America does that so backwards.
Yeah.
Like it annoys me because here in Japan, teachers are respected more than athletes.
Yeah.
Like they're just respected way more.
Yeah.
And like when you look at America's system, like it's annoying to me because I'm like it's
The
wild.
celebrity obsession. We're like a
Yeah,
celebrity-driven society.
I
Yeah.
was like, it's wild to me that someone can legit have the nerve to be like, man, 10 years, 200 million is not enough. Like,
Right.
what?
Right.
Like, well, I was like, why you looking at a teacher who's making 40,000 a year and got to go buy their own school supplies?
Yeah.
Or you're looking at a police officer that's making $40,000 a year
Yeah.
and they're risking their life every single day.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you're looking at other people that are nurses and doctors and all these other people. I can't say doctors making it good, like
Yeah.
nurses, like
No,
nurses.
too. Yeah. No, you're
Yeah, I was
right.
like that. I was like, and for a professional athlete to say anything about anything being unfair, I'm just like, bro, shut up. Like, shut
Yeah.
up. Like, I remember when Josh Smith came out, he said, how am I supposed to feed my family with 5 million? I'm like, what? Like,
Right.
I like, bro, I was like, how you supposed I can feed my family for the next 20 years with 5
Right.
million? What you mean?
Yeah.
I was like, bro,
No,
what
and
are you
it is
talking
crazy
about?
too, because some of these contracts are going to like the eighth man on the team or like the
Yeah.
backup shooting guard, where
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
like, man, you're getting generational wealth and you're not even one of the top players on your team.
I
And
like
yeah.
I told my buddy, I was like, bro, because I like when I played football, I played quarterback and I played wide receiver. And I told my buddy, I was like, bro, if there was ever a chance in my mind, I thought that I could like go to college and be a college quarterback. I was like, at like a D1 or even a D2 school. I was like, I would have played football. I was like, because the backup quarterback is the best position in football.
Oh,
You
it's
ain't,
amazing.
I was like, you ain't got to do nothing. You get all the perks.
You can't get hit. You're not allowed to get hit in practice.
Not allowed to get hit. You get all the perks. And then I was like, even if the guy goes down and you go in and I was like, let you go off for like 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he
Right.
come back the next week healthy. You are a legend for
Yeah.
like.
There's no
I was like,
expect right. If you go in, no one expects you to do anything.
no,
If you do good stuff, it's just an extra plus.
yeah. I was like, bro, backup quarterback is the best position in any sport.
Yeah.
So I was like, backup quarterback. I was like, that's the kids. If you're dreaming to be anything, dream to be a backup quarterback. That's the
Hey,
best
easy
position.
living, easy
Best
living.
position, man.
But hey, man, to wrap it up here, last question. With it being called Ball2Books, do you have any book recommendations or podcasts? Obviously, as we're on one right now, and you have one. If you have any podcast recommendations, if not book recommendations for the people.
So like on our first glitch, on our second glitch, I
Yeah.
grabbed the book. Coats Between the World and Me.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's a great book. It was the last book my mentor gave me before he passed. It's a phenomenal book. I love it. Coates is his writing is give me books. Um, it's a great read.
Awesome,
And then
man.
the
Okay,
and then
sorry, go keep going.
I was like, if we got to pitch podcasts, I mean, I got to pitch my own.
Of
Conversing,
course.
conversing over drinks with your host Cedric Turner is it's just a fun conversation between friends, man. Like I love it. I keep it open. I would love to have you on as a guest. That would be
Oh,
great.
for sure.
It's just open. Like we're going into season two, and season two, I want to do more like this and that type of format. Like I come from an improv background, improv,
Okay.
and so like I love doing this and that. But I want to keep it like fun, man. I want to do like if I were to have you on as a guest, I would love to do like top 10 or something. Like
Okay. Yeah.
who are your top 10 basketball players of all time? And then we
Yep.
would just go off and just have an episode about that.
Okay. I love it, man. And then
Yeah.
lastly, where can people find you? What website, social media? Where can people check
Social
you out
media,
at?
you can find me social media on TikTok. Um, I can't remember any of my tag names. TikTok at Cedric Turner 15. And
Cool.
then I'm on Instagram at Cedric.Turner.90.
Cool.
And then I'm on X, whatever X is
Yeah,
now.
yeah, X, Twitter,
I
whatever that
don't
is.
know what that is though. At Cedric Turner 323. And man, you
Cool.
just follow me on any of that, man. I'm always open to have podcast episodes with anybody. I'm always open for a debate because I don't have no ill will against anybody, man. I love people's opinions. People get mad when I say that. They were like, "Well," I was like, "Bro, your opinion is your opinion. I respect it
Love
as
it.
long as you respect mine. Like
Yeah.
that's just all we got to keep it as."
I love that, man. I love it. Well, Cedric, brother, I appreciate you, man. You had some great insight. For everyone else, this is Ball2Book Spotlight. Catch you guys next time. Peace.